Hey everybody, I'm Captain Nathaniel Lemmon, and I'm a long-time charter guide, 20 plus years of doing this full-time out here on Florida Space Coast. And today I'm here in Mosquito Lagoon. Just finished up a morning charter. What a great day we had. It was a family trip, but I had the father and daughter on my boat today, and we ended the day with 10 or 11 redfish and nearly the same amount of trout up to 5 pounds, and all of our redfish were really pretty sizable ones. A lot of overslot fish. So here's a picture of the father and daughter from the trip I just wrapped up this morning. But really going to talk to you now about how the fishing's been the last 2 months and how the fishing's going to be this month and next month, and throw up some pictures of what we've been catching and some of the clients that have been on my boat. But this is the dog days of summer. It can be hot this time of year. It's actually a pretty comfortable day today, even though there's no wind, but you can kind of see over my shoulder, it's a pretty cloudy day. We've had a lot of rain in the past couple or week or so. So it's kind of some sticky weather out here right now, but this tends to be most of our weather for this time of the year. A little bit about what we've been doing the last 6 weeks, and the main thing has been our redfish bite. That's what we've been tending to focus on every day, what we're having the most or the best luck on. Some days are a little bit better, other days are a little bit slower, but redfish tend to be the main thing we've been targeting lately. And there's really two ways that we can fish redfish this time of year, and it really comes down to whether you want to target size or whether you want to target numbers. I've actually found that the lagoon is starting to fish like it did a long time ago. The best numbers are coming from down this way. So what we've been doing down here is we've been targeting schools of 5, 10, 15, 20, sometimes 30 or 40 in a school. And they tend to be tailing really good, at least for portions of the day. So we're sight casting, tailing redfish up in the shallow water. And we can do that with live bait, lures, fly. Live bait has tended to be the best way to get them lately, as evidenced by the day we had today. Fly fishing's producing some, but also depends on the casting accuracy. And lure bite has been a little bit tougher. If you really want to try it, you can pick off some, but it tends to be the hardest way to get them right now. Or you head up towards the Ponce Inlet area and you target the big giant redfish. Now there's not a lot of them up there yet. That gets better as we get into August and September and October. So we're hoping that we're going to take up a good run of, we call them the ocean fish, because the big resident 40-inch redfish, they're already making their way up there now, but they're the ones that live in here. Each fall we haven't really showed up the last couple years, but we can get a good run of big 40-inch reds coming in and out of the ocean. It could be thousands of them, and when they show up, that's the place to be to catch the 40-inch fish. So really, I have some fish tailing up here behind me as I talk about it. Really, it just depends on what you want to do and how you want to target them. So I'm going to throw some pictures up here of some fish that we've caught down here. This was another family trip I did. It's actually 3 generations in this photo here. Howard's been fishing with me for a long time, and now his son and grandson are doing it too. So here's a giant redfish that we caught on the last trip I did with them. This is actually a new client from Central Florida area. He told me he had a goal of catching a big redfish and maybe a big trout at some point, or a snook or a tarpon. So I fished with him one day, and we started our day with a couple giant redfish like this, and ended up hooking and a couple tarpon as well, including one tarpon that literally is right there where my sonar unit is on my center console. I was standing right there beside it, and the tarpon jumped over the boat, missed my face by maybe 10 to 12 inches, landed on the other side and broke off. Never had that happen before. I've had them jump around the boat or into the side of the boat, but never one that's done a complete leap over the side, from one side to the other. So talk about an exciting experience that was. Here's another long-time regular client he does a trip with me every month. We had a fantastic day a little while back, and we started the day with some giant redfish. I took him to some shallow water. We caught a lot of really nice trout, up to 4 pounds. And then, man, he finished the day with a 14-pound snook out in the middle of a wide open grass flat. So here's a picture of Brian with one of those big redfish that he caught. Here's a unique one. There's actually going to be 2 pictures that go up here to talk about this fish, because we caught it twice. Here's the first person to catch it was a kid. Grandfather and brought his grandson out for a trip. Their grandfather fishes with me a few times a year. Wanted to bring his grandson out. We had a great day, caught a bunch of nice trout, also some really big redfish, and here's a trophy redfish that he caught. Now, 2 weeks later, here comes another picture, because 2 weeks later we caught this same fish again. And if you really want to look at it, if you look at the spot on its tail, it kind of forms like a Z pattern. That's how you can tell it's the same fish. And actually, in my next report next month, you're going to see an even bigger redfish that I just recently caught. We caught it twice as well, and it's even more noticeable when you see that one. So here's a picture of the two anglers that caught this same fish this summer. This is a client that his kids have actually been fishing with me a lot. He fished with me a long time ago when his kids were little. The kids have now grown up, and they come back and do charters with me. One of them wanted to bring his dad out for a trip, so here's Steve with a nice big redfish that he caught on that trip, in addition to lots of other stuff. Here's another long-time regular client that fishes with me quite a bit this time of the year. Really loves catching big redfish. Kind of got humbled a little bit with his buddy catching them all one trip before. He came back out, and Brady had the hot rod of the day and was sticking big redfish left and right. So here's a picture of a really nice one that he caught. Last but not least, on these big redfish, here's a giant one. This one taped out like 46 inches. Another client that fishes with his son, and we've had some great trips targeting trout, black drum, or a little bit of everything. We had some great trips this winter catching a lot of fish. Took him out this time to get on some big redfish, and we caught some early, and then he got the giant of the day, and here's a 46 incher that he caught. So as you can see, we have these big redfish that live in here year round. We don't really have the numbers that we used to. It is rebounding, we're really starting to see a rebound now. It's only going to get better, but these are the fish that we've been catching during the summertime that are getting a little bit tougher to catch now. So they're on their way to the inlet. Other ones from the ocean should be coming up to the inlet. So hopefully we're going to have a great fall targeting some big 40-inch redfish up there. And if not, that's fine, dandy too, because I can come right down here to the lagoon, and in the fall, September, October, early November, we catch 20, 25 redfish a day down here. So either we're going up there to catch them, or we're coming down here to catch them. There's really no reason to not catch a lot of redfish the next couple months. So if your bucket list item is to catch redfish or catch a trophy one, now's the time to do it. Don't wait till it gets too late in the year. I mean, there's no bad times for us, but these are really, really good months. So you want to take advantage of that and get in on this redfish bite we've got going on. So now that I've covered the big ones, let me show you some of the ones we've been getting from the flats. Here's a client again with his son in the background. We had a good redfish day, caught some trout, caught a nice snook to finish out a slam. Here's a redfish that some new clients caught with me. This is also another new client, and his wife came out for a day, and he wanted her to catch a redfish, and we did. She caught several of them, but he actually caught the most unique one of the day when he caught this redfish that had over 30 spots on it. So here's a cool redfish that lots of body spots on him. This is actually a picture from the picture of one I told you where the client that he fished with me when his sons were little. Well, those sons come out now. They do their own charters with me, which is really showing my age. But I had the two they're not boys anymore, but the two older ones on the boat, and we had a great redfish day. Another double-digit 10+ redfish. So here's a picture of one of those that we caught. Got some others that they're going to be showing up in the next report, because we've been doing a lot of the fishing down here on these tailing fish. But here's a unique one. It's actually not even a redfish, it's a shark. Because as we were fishing, he said he'd like to catch a shark, and then lo and behold, we caught a shark. So here's a little, I can't remember if this was a little sandbar shark or a sharp-nosed shark. We tend to find these ones, lots of baby bull sharks. In fact, we caught a shark today. Seen a lot of sharks lately, and they start to get bigger this time of year. Starting to see a lot of 5-6 foot long bull sharks down in here cruising around, kind of following us around on the flats, waiting to see if we can pick off something that we catch. So here's a picture of that charter and that shark that he caught. So let me jump right into the next best thing, or next best option we had this time of the year, and that's going to be the speckled trout. Here's a client of mine from Georgia that he actually caught me right after I got back from vacation in early June and wanted to come out and do a trip, and I was able to fit him in, and we actually kind of struggled on the bite, and then the last spot we found them. We found redfish and we found plenty of trout. So here's a nice one that he caught. It was a little 4-pound trout. Here's another charter I did. These are new clients. They're actually family of the grandfather that fished with his grandson. They all wanted to start coming out and doing some trips, and we started off the day losing a really nice snook, caught a redfish, and then she caught a really nice trout. This is about a 5-pound trout. It's in this picture. Here's a client, his wife. She doesn't get to go out on the trips as much anymore because he's now coming out or bringing. He's got 2 little kids that he's bringing out now too, but one of the kids didn't wake up, so his wife joined us for the morning, and we had a great morning. This was actually early in July, and we caught some great trout to start today, picked off some redfish that were tailing and on the edge of some deeper water. Yeah, and we just kept moving around throughout the day, finding a little bit of everything everywhere we went. So here's a picture of her with a nice trout she caught at sunrise. Here's a big trout that we caught just recently. This was actually last week. Great bite we had. Only, some redfish, but man, it's kind of hard to go wrong when you got a 6+ pound trout that joins us for the day. So here's a picture of, they were actually newlyweds. They just got married and were down here on their honeymoon and did a charter with me. So great way to celebrate with a 6+ pound trout for her. So trout fishing this time of the year, we're getting a lot of them, and we're getting good size of them. Maybe not a ton of them. We're not catching like 40 every day, but probably because we're just doing some other things too instead of just trout fishing all day. But we are picking up 10, 15, 20 trout for most of the time, and there's actually a lot of good ones mixed in there. The charter today, they had them up to 5 pounds. You don't tend to see a lot of those really big ones come here at the end of the summertime. We tend to have more numbers, but we're also getting into the time of the year where we're not doing a whole. We're going to start kind of fading out the trout fishing a little bit because there's just other things to do. There's a lot of redfish going on. There's some snook action going on. There's tarpon some big tarpon starting to show up. So there's really other things to do than target trout, especially for the sizes we're getting, but they provide some good action. But you got another month or two that I'm going to be still fishing those before we've kind of like not given up on them for the year, but we just tend to focus on other things for the remainder of the day. So I covered redfish, covered some trout. Last but not least, let's talk a little bit about snook. And snook, really, the action right now for the snook is going to be up around Ponce Inlet area, where the structure areas, the bridges in New Smyrna. It's no secret that there's big snook that hang around our bridges. It's pretty much everywhere on the east coast of Florida. Big snook are going to be going to Ponce Inlet to spawn. This is their spawning month, June, July, August. They're going to be making moves to the inlet to spawn. There's usually a big group of them up there, and that's where you find the ones that are in the 35 to 40 inch range. At night, a lot of those snook are coming inside. You'll find them at the docks and bridges, and we tend to fish through the middle of the night too, and early in the morning and target those, which you'll see some pictures in my next report of doing that, because we've been doing several night trips lately. Down here in the backwaters, there's not as many snook this time of the year because they're pretty much scattered. I mean, there's snook around. We pick them up here and there. We have to tend to run more out of the lagoon this time of year to go find them, but we do find some snook scattered around here in the backwaters. It's just we're kind of out of that prime time of the year. We're doing other things because in this winter and spring I can catch 20 or 30 snook a day down here. So this time of the year we maybe find 1 or 2. So obviously there's better things for us to spend our time and energy doing. But before we stop really targeting them that much down here, here's some snook that we did catch. This was actually, he's a regular client the last few years. He's now 90 plus years old. He's gone through some heart issues, gone through a stroke, and still manages to find a way to get out here and fish with me for a day. So what's your excuse? Guy's got a stroke and heart issues and heart attacks, coming out here spending a day with me. So here's a day that he did with me with his grandson, and he caught this great snook to start the day and said, "I'm good, Captain. I've done what I needed to." So here's Tony with a nice snook he caught. Here's another newer client the last few years. Took them out. We started the morning catching a bunch of snook around some dock areas. So here's a picture of him with a snook that he caught to get our day started. This is actually another new client. Somebody bought a gift certificate. I took them out to use that gift certificate. We caught some fish to get started, and then the last spot of the day, or one of the spots that I took them to, had a really nice school of redfish up in the oysters. There was also some big snook in there. We caught several of them, 2 big snook. So here's a 30-inch snook that he caught up in the oyster beds, pushing around in shallow water, sticking their backs out of the water. How often you get to see snook doing that? So here's a picture of that snook that he caught. So again, you'll see more pictures in my next report where we're kind of fishing the snook in different areas or targeting them now, because this is the time of the year where we're not really looking for numbers of snook, we're swinging for big ones. So the time to do that is fish them when it's dark, or fish them up there at the inlet where it's deep and they're up there to spawn. They'll be doing that for the next month or so, then actually probably a couple months, as they won't really change up their pattern now until it starts to get colder later in the fall, and then those snook are going to move into the backwaters, and then that's where we start to target them again in the winter and spring and catch bunches of them. So I covered redfish, snook, and trout. Last but not least, the only thing really left around here is some tarpon. Honest answer, I think it's kind of slow in here for tarpon this year. While we have some and we're catching them, we have not seen the big ones show up down here in the lagoon this year like they used to or had traditionally done. The ocean has stayed cold, or stayed warm, so a lot of them are staying in the ocean and not coming this way. But you never know how things change up. But we caught a lot of tarpon early in the year. Haven't really caught many lately, if any. Haven't even really tried because we haven't been seeing them, other than the ones I told you about that had the full jump over the boat. That day we caught a couple, but really haven't caught many or seen enough since then. So we've kind of stopped wasting our time and energy on doing it and gone to the things that do catch. So you can check back with me on my next report to see how the tarpon fishing is going, whether any have showed up or if we're doing any better. But don't really have much to report on those because haven't really done much of it. I think that covers about everything. You're in a good time of the year if you want to come out and do it with me. Not much is going to change this month of August. Really won't be much changing in September until we get towards the last week of the month. Everything tends to be pretty consistent at this time of the year. We're just fishing around the rain. We do get some rain showers that are usually afternoon showers, and then just keeping our fingers crossed no tropical storms or hurricanes show up to kind of change up the fishing. But as long as that doesn't happen, should be pretty consistent over the next couple months. So hope you enjoyed my report. If you like the report and like the other features that I do, definitely subscribe to my channel. I try and do these, once a month or once every month and a half or so. If you do want to book a charter with me, I'm going to go ahead and throw some of my contact info up here, which is my business card, and it shows my website, my phone number, and some areas that I include. And like I said, I do light tackle stuff, spinning rods with live bait and lures, but I also do a lot of fly fishing too, so I can pretty much cover it all. Just if you want to get out here and spend a day with me, you'd probably be well advised to do it as far in advance as you can. I do tend to stay booked 4 to 6 weeks out this time of the year. We're in the last busy month of the year, May, June, July, August, 4 busiest months of the year. My August is pretty well full. I do have 2 days open at the very end of the month for the next lucky person that calls about those. September's about halfway full. I think I have about 10 dates open still for September. October hasn't started filling up yet. Do have some dates scheduled, but more open dates in October, which if you're reading or listening to this and you are thinking about fishing in October, you could hit it a better time. I mean, we catch a ton of fish in October, so little precursor of things to expect. October is a really good time of the year, and that's when I have availability. So if you want to get out here and do a trip with me, definitely look me up, 386-212-4931. You're welcome to leave me a voicemail, shoot me a text message if you want quicker answers. Email me at captain@floridasightfishing.com. Visit my website, which is floridasightfishing.com. And let's get out here and spend a day together. I mean, beautiful weather out here in Mosquito Lagoon and on Florida Space Coast. So hope you enjoyed this report. Give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and let's get out here and make some memories with you. All right. Until next time, tight lines. Bye bye.